We're back to work. I guess sometimes the best business gets done after you get here. I was observing yesterday morning this high energy woman across the room who was giving them what for at one of the other radio stations that was broadcasting across the road from me, and I thought, I got to see this gal. I got to find out what she's got what to talk about. And of course, we are in Washington D.C. at Hold Their Feet to the Fire at the Phoenix Plaza Hotel, and it's been great to be here. So I walk into the elevator, and what to my wondering eyes should appear, but there she is. Brigitte Gabriel is an expert in international terrorism and has written numerous books on it. The two that I've got right here that I can tell you about are Because They Hate and They Must Be Stopped. Gabriel, great to have Gabriel. Brigitte, they both sound wonderful for a person. Brigitte, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you. Delighted to be with you, Craig.
Let's start right off with what's going on in the United States. You mentioned 60 arrests that have been made in the last few months down in the Carolinas, and then this thing that just happened in the Bronx. Al-Qaeda is alive and well and growing their own terrorists right here.
That's right. Al-Qaeda is alive very well. We have arrested 40 homegrown terrorists in the last 6 months on American soil. The last one was Daniel Boyd. That's not to mention the raids and what's happening in New York right now, in New York and Denver. So it is a major concern. We have cells all over the country. The FBI is monitoring hundreds of cells all over the country. We're not talking tens, we're talking hundreds. And it's all started because of the wiretapping program. Remember how everybody got so upset, did the big brouhaha because of the wiretapping program?
The Patriot Act.
That's right, and the Patriot Act. It is through that we were able to catch these people, begin monitoring them, find out what they are up to. And this is how we were able to foil this attack yesterday. And this was a huge plot being planned that we busted in New York the day before yesterday.
They call it a 9/11 style attack.
9/11 style attack. I mean, and the guy had a cart selling donuts and coffee in the streets of New York. In my book, They Must Be Stopped, my latest New York Times bestseller, I discuss how if you live in America today, any American, you have shaken the hand of a terrorist, you have exchanged money with a terrorist, you have sat next to a terrorist in a movie theater, you just don't know it because we Americans are unaware in general and not paying attention to this issue. It is a major issue. Just because we have not had an attack since September 11th does not mean that our enemy has forgotten about us. As a matter of fact, since September 11th, we have foiled over 30 attacks on American soil. Over 30. So the reason why we didn't see a major attack yet, it's not because of their lack of trying. It is because of the programs that have been instituted under the previous administration, the Bush administration, that have really protected the country and enabled us to really see who is with us and who's against us and where they are operating in this country and begin monitoring them.
Okay, let's look at the borders. Now, the southern border is the one that gets most of the attention. We got an awful long border with Canada that nobody looks at very much. How much of this jihadism, how much of this al-Qaeda influence comes from the outside, particularly from north and south?
A lot of it. And it's not only Al-Qaeda, Craig. While many Americans focus on Al-Qaeda, it's a lot of different other organizations as well, like Islamic Jihad, Hamas, Hezbollah, where people think that those organizations are over there, they're Israel's problem, they're 1,000 miles away problem. They are not. Al-Qaeda is nothing more than a trans-umbrella organization with many different organizations that share the same ideology and theology are now operating in the United States. The problem with the border is Al-Qaeda right now is paying the MS-13 gang, working with the MS-13 gang, the notorious South American gang, paying them between $25,000 and $50,000 per terrorist to be smuggled into the United States. Hamas and Hezbollah are paying between $5,000 to $10,000 per terrorist. The drug cartels have figured out a much more profitable way to make money. Forget about smuggling the little poor Mexicans who can pay diddly squat to come here and wash dishes and landscape our
Send
yard.
it all back, right?
That's right. They are making much more money bringing in terrorists. Now, think about it. If somebody is willing to pay $50,000 for terrorists to be smuggled into the country, those people are not paying $50,000 to come here and landscape. That's not their goal. Their goal is to come here and literally get plugged into a network of people people who wish to do America harm, like that guy in New York selling donuts and coffee out of a cart in New York streets. Now, he have not come to the country illegally, sneaking through Mexico, but he came here legally. The problem is this is the type of people that we are concerned about operating in the United States. And the reason why the Mexican border is more of a problem than the Canadian border is the Canadian border, even though it is as open as the Mexican border, it is rugged. It is much more difficult to cross it through the Canadian border. The Mexican border, when they cross through the Mexican border, it is much easier for them. And the reason why is because they blend in better. A lot of Middle Easterners look a lot like Mexicans. They have the brown skin, so they blend in. They can come across and people think they are Mexicans. The situation is so bad that we found out that the Mexican embassy in Beirut, Lebanon, an employee at the Mexican embassy is selling visas to Mexico for $3,000 a visa to Hezbollah members, because they know that once they can make their way to Mexico, then they can sneak into the United States. And while they are here, they can go to LA or New York, for example, where they can buy fake Mexican IDs on the streets of LA for $90 and on the streets of New York for $150, and blend in a way where there is no way our government can actually track them. And this is why the immigration issue is so important, and the border situation is vital to secure that darn border in order to protect our country.
What about the weapons transfers that are going on? We have, there was all this quacking out of Hillary Clinton that American weapons are going to Mexico. As it turns out, looks like most of it is coming up from the south. They're Korean weapons, they're Russian weapons, they're Chinese weapons. Those things, though, don't they come through to arm not just the drug dealers, but the terrorists as well?
Exactly. That's a great possibility right now. And, the irritating thing with them saying, the American weapons and the American weapons, the only reason they're able to track the American weapons is because we've got serial numbers for them. We are able to track them. The American weaponry is just nothing but a fraction of the larger number of weaponry that is coming through the border or being exchanged.
Yeah.
Exactly. The majority, 90% of it, is weapons that we cannot track, that it's flowing in and out through bad hands and thugs who have no good intentions whatsoever. And, it's contributing. My concern is the terrorism angle, as a terrorism expert, because if a suitcase bomb or a nuclear bomb is smuggled through the Mexican border and detonated in New York or Chicago, for example, it will cause the costs to the American public and our government will be immeasurable. Immeasurable.
Yeah. Again, Brigitte Gabriel, our guest. The two books that I don't want to lose track of: Because They Hate and They Must Be Stopped. And I'll get you the right spelling on her last name. When you go to Google her, it's Gabriel, Brigitte Gabriel.
Just like an angel.
Just like an angel. unless you're a terrorist and they don't think of you in those terms.
That's right. That's right.
You mentioned the number of 40. You mentioned this other guy that's not connected with Denver. Why is this not news? I find out these things. Now, today, finally, the New York Daily News popped this story about what they did to the Al-Qaeda guys just the day before yesterday. But the rest of these stories don't come out. Why not?
They barely make it as a quick news. And the reason why the mainstream media does not want to publicize these stories is because they make the Bush administration look good. Remember, Bush is their enemy. Bush is a bloody, warmongering guy who wants to go impose, for his own private interest, he wants to go to war. I mean, there are people in this country who believe that Bush launched and made happen the 9/11 attack so he can go do oil business in the Middle East. That's why the mainstream media does not want to report on it, because that will validate that all the programs that the Bush administration instituted, like the wiretapping program, are working and actually protecting the country. They don't want to make him look good, so they don't report it.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah.
With lives at stake and the numbers that we're facing here, they want to play politics.
They want to play politics with the lives of Americans.
He's gone.
And he is gone. And all this 40 arrests happened under the Obama administration right now. But it's not because of his policies. It's not because of the way he is so aware of the war on terror. I mean, after all, he took the words out of our vocabulary right now. We call it man-made disasters and overseas contingencies. And the terrorists look at the Obama administration as their 4-year window of opportunity to get whatever they need to get done in America right now.
I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. Brigitte, thanks so much for being our guest. It's a great honor to have you here. And I hope we can catch up again, maybe by telephone.
Sure, I would love to.
Keep up the fight.
Thank you.
Up to the News Center, Joe Ulrey, our man on the street there, my friend, or man on the street.